Hello. Okay, The Little Mermaid. I've only ever watched the original once, and that was last night. It was just one of those animated Disney movies that just never really crossed my path back when I was a kid, and I just never ended up watching it. Not in its entirety anyway. I am familiar with some of the characters, some of the moments, some of the musical numbers, but I've never watched it in its entirety. And after watching it for the first time last night, I felt it was an okay experience. I felt it was quite shallow, the story was quite clunky, but it was okay. I have not really been a massive fan when it comes to Disney doing these live adaptations of these classic animated movies. For me, there were two massive letdowns, and that was Beauty and the Beast and the Lion King. Two of my favourite Disney animated movies, and I just don't think they didn't do what I feel adaptations or remakes should do, and that is elevate that original source, that original content, and just improve upon it. For me, The Little Mermaid does that. It's a step in the right direction. It improves on every aspect of that original movie, and for me personally, that is what a live adaptation or a remake should do. And what I feel like they did with this live adaptation to improve upon the original was dig a little bit deeper into the characters and just add a bit more meat to the story. Like tweaking certain elements and sort of tweaking certain sort of motivations when it comes to the characters. And as a result, just gave us a much more deeper connection between our two main characters. Don't get me wrong, this is not a deep movie. There's not an awful lot of depth to it, but it does, as a result of these tweaks with the story and just adding a bit more meat to the story and the characters, give the overall journey this much more kind of meaningful experience, a much more meaningful journey. The music is composed by the same man who composed the music for the original, and Alan Menken. And again, somehow, even though you've got, 90% of the same music in this film, it's just the way the music comes alive, the way it's sung by the great, fantastic voice talent of all the cast. And Halle Bailey is simply fantastic in this movie. And when it comes to her with the musical numbers, she hits every note. She is simply fantastic. There were some really good performances, within this film, along with some really fantastic voice talent, but there were two big standouts for me. The first one being Halle Bailey as Ariel. I just thought she was great in this film. She gives us this very charismatic, natural, real performance that delivers the musical numbers perfectly. I bought into her as this character, and I just feel like she brought this character to life beautifully. The other standout for me was Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. She is simply fantastic in this film. She not only captures the soul and personality of the character from the original, but also makes it her own. For me, she's the perfect casting, and she gives a fantastic performance that just left me grinning. Even when it comes to this one musical number, Poor Unfortunate Souls is the musical number. And the way she just brings this song alive, along with just the music and the visuals, it is simply fantastic. And I was just immersed into the moment. And yeah, it's the same song, but again, like I've previously mentioned about how this film was sort of put together, it really sort of just elevates and makes the original so much better in so many ways. Like, I thought the song in the original animated movie was okay, but in this, along with the visuals and Melissa McCarthy's performance, just really brings it to life. And I was grinning. Yeah, Melissa McCarthy, her performance in this movie for me, it is the standout. She is great. Every aspect of the original was, for me personally, improved upon and enhanced in many ways. And I just had a really enjoyable time with this movie, and I'll be very honest, I really wasn't expecting to be sitting here saying this, but I just found myself immersed into this movie immediately from the first few shots of, you've got these beautiful opening shots of the waves, and immediately I was kind of just sucked in, because just the way the overall movie is directed. You know, it's a very well made movie, adapted from an original animated movie that I felt had flaws. Now, don't get me wrong, this movie is not perfect and it still has flaws. I'm not a massive fan when it comes to copy and paste, and I feel like that's what these live adaptations do quite a bit of, and as a result lacks originality. But I felt like they still managed to add new flavour and a little twist to the story, and to, you know, to certain moments that for me just made it a much more enjoyable experience. And when I watched that original for the first time last night, in the third act, that final scene with Ursula when she sort of turns into this giant octopus, I did wonder, how are they gonna, it left me curious to how they were gonna sort of bring this moment to life. And, you know, understandably, this moment within this version of the movie is very, you know, CGI heavy. There's a lot of CGI. But I felt like within this moment, when Ursula just turns into this giant octopus, we lost a lot of Melissa within it. And that's because it becomes very much CGI, and they change the look of her slightly. Now, I understand from an artistic perspective why they would have done that, but I felt like we just lost too much of Melissa within this moment. You know, too much of what I thought made the character great. At the same time, I understand from an artistic point of view why they did it, and they just sort of changed the design when she turns into this sort of big monster. But for me, we were just, you know, we kind of just lost what was making this character great. You know, you could hear Melissa, she was still there, you know, through voice, but we sort of just, yeah, we just kind of lost that in that moment. And I thought the CGI for the most part was okay. I felt like it served the type of story that they were telling. I kind of liked the photorealistic sort of look of some of the key characters, like Sebastian and Flounder. I really dug the design of them, in fact. I know a lot of people haven't. But I kind of like that sort of blend of photorealistic and sort of slight cartoony exaggerations when it came to the sort of the reactions and the emotions. I thought it was a perfect blend, and I just dug how they brought the underwater scenes to life as well, and that world underwater was just visually sort of beautiful to look at, and I just liked how the characters looked under the sea. I found it to be quite immersive. So there's been a lot of negativity around the CGI and sort of the look of certain characters, but for me it just sort of worked. So yeah, I enjoyed this movie a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to be honest with you. Like, I've only ever watched the original once, and that was last night, and it was okay. I mean, I didn't think of it, it wasn't really anything special for me personally, but I do feel like this live adaptation was an improvement. It's a step in the right direction for Disney when it comes to these live adaptations. Don't get me wrong, it still retains some of those flaws that I've had with the previous live adaptations, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. And I think director Rob Marshall does a really good job of bringing this world to life and just adding more soul and personality to these characters, and just improves upon the original and gives what it was, for me anyway, an immersive experience. So yeah, I didn't think I'd be sitting here saying that, but there we are. I mean, that's how I felt about the live adaptation of The Little Mermaid. So yeah, and I will be giving The Little Mermaid a 6.5 out of 10. So yeah, they are my thoughts on The Little Mermaid. What did you guys think? Please let me know in the comments, and let's get a discussion going. Did you agree or disagree with me? Let me know. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to see future reviews from a geek in Wales, just, you know, ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. So yeah, thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it, and I'll be seeing you guys soon.